it's like every single moment Krishna is doing so many things.
Yeah.
Um, yes.
That means I am.
Time I am. Yes.
Every single moment you can see different.
Yeah. Yeah. Constantly, always, 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 always
Yes.
changing. Variety. Uh, time I am. Never stops. Always active, moving, doing. Okay. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajadhanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadhanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivara Hari Yashodanandana Brajadhanarandana Yashodanandana Brajadhanarandana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radhe, Jaya Radha Madhava, Radhe. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Gaura Pimanandi, Daim Vishupad Paramahamsa, Pri Brajagacharya Stotra Satta, Srimad, His Divine Grace, Chalaboy Chalanaraman Bhaktivedanta Swami Sri Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Sri Haridas Thakur ki, Samavata Bhakta Vrinda ki, Hari Nam Sankirtan ki, Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Janita Gaura Pimanandi. All that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to be assembled devotees, all that is to Sri Guru, to Sri Gauranga, all that is to Sri Prabhupada. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Aksuran Biritam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Parakamalam Sri Gurun Vaisnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatan Vitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Visakanditam He Krishna Krona Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopisa Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Siti Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpa Tarubhyasya Pipa Sindhu Vyaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, let us first offer respectful obeisances unto Narayana, Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremmost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta Prayasabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Tamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. By regularly hearing the Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering a service unto the pure devotee, all that is troublesome within the heart becomes destroyed or practically to nil, and loving devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, becomes established as an irrevocable fact. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samitam Utamashloka Charitam Sakara Bhagavan Rishi Nishreya Sayalokasya Dhanyam Swasya Namaha. This Srimad Bhagavatam, known as the Granthara, as the king of all Vedic literatures, is the literary incarnation of God. It is compiled by the incarnation of God, the Srila Vyasadeva. It is meant for the ultimate good of all people. It is all successful, all blissful, and all perfect. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Om Sarabhyai Namaha. Mukam karoti vasalam pangam langayate girim yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Yat kripa tamaham bande Sri Gurum Dinataranam. Hare Krishna. Welcome to our Bhagavatam class. Continuing Canto number 1, Chapter 5, which is entitled Narada's Instructions on Srimad Bhagavatam, and text number 30. Yes. Jnanam guhyatamam yat tat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dina vatsalaha jnanam guhyatamam yat tat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dina vatsalaha jnanam guhyatamam yat tat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dina vatsalaha jnanam guhyatamam yat tat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dina vatsalaha
Jnanam Gupyatamam Yat
jnanam guhyatamam yat tat
Sakshat Bhagavatoditam
sakshad bhagavatoditam
Anvavochan Gamishyanta
anvavochan gamishyantah
Kripaya Dinavatsala
kripaya dina vatsalaha jnanam guhyatamam yat tat sakshad bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyantah kripaya dina vatsalaha jnanam knowledge guhyatamam most confidential yet what is tat that sakshat directly bhagavata uditam propounded by the Lord himself anvavachan gave instruction gamisyantaha while departing from kripaya by causeless mercy dinavatsalaha those who are very kind to the poor and meek. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Sridham Prabhupada Ki. As they were leaving, those Bhaktivedantas who were very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead Himself. Can you repeat after me? As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead Himself. A lot of discussions going on. Purport. Wow. Somebody's in ecstasy. I wonder what they're saying. I wonder what they're telling. They're speaking, no? God.
He have also Bhagavatam class
Yeah.
in their own language.
Yes. Calling all his friends. Come here. Purport. A pure Vedantist or a Bhakti Vedanta instructs followers exactly according to the instructions of the Lord Himself. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other scriptures, has definitely instructed men to follow the Lord only. The Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing by His will, and by His will, when a whole show is finished, He will remain in His eternal abode with all His paraphernalia. Before the creation, He was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation, He will continue to remain. He is not, therefore, one of the created beings. He is transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that long before the instruction was imparted to Arjuna, the same was instructed to the sun god. Sun god. And in course of time, the same instruction being wrongly handled and being broken was again instructed to Arjuna, because he was his perfect devotee and friend. Bhakto sime sakachiti. Bhakto sime sakachiti rahasyam hita rutamam. Therefore, the instruction of the Lord can be understood by the devotees only and no one else. The impersonalist, who has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord, cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The word most confidential, guyatamam, is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far, far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Yeah. Jnanam means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of the impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma, or the all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential. But when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service, and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjuna, Uddhava, etc. Translation again. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas, who are very kind to poor-hearted souls, instructed me in that most confidential subject, which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. So there is knowledge and there is knowledge, different kinds of knowledge, different levels of knowledge, which is nicely explained also here in the first verse of the 14th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is very nice. That first verse, 14th chapter, Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Param Bhuya Prabhakshyami Jnananam Jnanam Uttamam Yajgyadva Munaya Sarve Param Siddhim Ito Gataha. Very nice verse that speaks about Jnanam and Vijnanam, actually. The translation of this verse is, the Blessed Lord said, again I shall declare to you this supreme wisdom, the best of all knowledge, knowing which all the sages have attained the supreme perfection. And directly connected with this first instruction given by Krishna in the 14th chapter, second verse is also very significant. Idam jnanam upasritya mama sadharmyam agataha sargepi nupajayante pralaye na yatanti cha. Thank you. Which means, translation, by becoming fixed in this knowledge, one can attain to the transcendental nature, which is like my own nature. Prabhupada is making this point here in the purport, that Krishna, he is transcendental. Thus established, one is not born at the time of creation nor disturbed at the time of dissolution. So this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, this knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam, this Vedic knowledge, this Vedic knowledge which covers subject matters of a spiritual nature as well as subject matters of a material nature, both are actually confidential. This interesting point actually that only fairly recently, somehow getting a little bit of insight that it's not only spiritual subject matter, just like the most confidential knowledge is revealed and displayed, especially in Vrindavan, especially the relationship of Krishna with his most confidential devotees, his most confidential associates, the gopis of Vrindavan, and of all the gopis in Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani. So that is very high and very, that is unknown to those who are not devotees, and even to those who are devotees, that is not so easy to actually realize, to understand, to appreciate. But Krishna is so perfect in all respects that not only are spiritual subject matters very confidential, but also material subject matters Krishna's creation, Krishna's uh, Bahir Anga Shakti, this material energy, the workings of the material world, uh, cosmology, astrology. uh, these are all uh, these are also very confidential subject matters. Um, and of course, the important point here is that unless we receive this, thank you, unless we receive this knowledge um, unchanged in Guru Parampara, then we will not be able to understand this knowledge. Um, so when Narada Muni was associating with these Vedantists, Bhakti Vedantas, uh, before or as they were leaving, after spending 4 months of the rainy season, 2 months of the rainy season and 2 months of autumn, they revealed to him this most confidential knowledge. And of course, that most confidential knowledge culminates in the science of bhakti, devotion, which um, which enables us to see things properly, to understand things properly, to utilize things uh, properly according to Krishna's desire, and that knowledge uh, only that knowledge can actually uh, fulfill the earnings, earnings, the yearning, the desires of the living entity. Mm. So it's amazing actually how the vast majority of people in the world are not having this knowledge. Mm. Although it is there in the Shastra, but as Lord Brahma explains, Vedeshu Durlabham, Vedeshu Durlabham, to understand the message or content of the Vedas is not at all easy. There's a method, there's a way. Uh, the recipient, one who is receiving this knowledge, must have certain qualifications or qualities, and then the person speaking also must have certain qualifications. Mm. Or as Prabhupada would sometimes give the example, unless uh, the husband and the wife are both potent, qualified, then there cannot be conception. Uh, so we must hear from the right source. Narada Muni was most fortunate in that Krishna arranged for him to be in the association of Bhakti Vedantas. Bhakti Vedanta, the very title Bhakti Vedanta is most important. Excuse me. So That is why in our Vaishnava Sampradaya, we are focused on spreading, on sharing this knowledge. That is the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That is the mission of Lord Krishna. Ultimately, the same mission of Krishna is known as Bhakta Vatsala. Here it mentions about Dina Vatsala. Dina Vatsala, those who are very kind to the poor and meek. And Bhakta Vatsala, Krishna is very kind to his devotees. So that is nicely being conveyed here. Prabhupada would always, when he would speak on this point, how most people are misleading. They're not giving the right understanding. They're reading Bhagavad Gita. They might even be reading the Bhagavatam, but they're not devotees. Unless one is a actual devotee practicing devotional service, one cannot understand and one cannot deliver this message which is being referred to here. So this verse in the Bhagavad Gita I was just referring to is also in many places. Actually, Krishna speaks about this aspect of Guyatamam, Raja Vidya, Raja Guyam, Pavitram, Idam, Uttamam. This is the knowledge that Krishna reveals in the Bhagavad Gita, that he has revealed to the sun god, and it's the same knowledge that Krishna reveals at the beginning of every creation. And because creations, the duration of even one day of Lord Brahma, as we know, is very long. So that knowledge, sometimes it becomes interrupted, and it needs to be spoken again, which was done 5,000 years ago. But there's always danger, even after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he again revived, isn't it? Krishna consciousness introduced the Sankirtan movement, but even after a short time of Mahaprabhu physically leaving, that knowledge again became twisted, isn't it? In other words, it's like if one is not cautious, it can be easily be lost. And it was, when we look at the history, it was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who again set it in the right direction. And since that time, of course, there's a whole effort that mission of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which was giving the proper direction, proper understanding, was taken up especially by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And then after he left, things became also confused. And then Krishna arranged that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada again took up that mission. And of course, after Prabhupada left, again, some aspects become we say, nebulous or unclear. So if we are not cautious, then we will lose uh, the proper understanding of what that mission is, which in many ways is happening uh, within our own society of devotees, isn't it? So therefore, there is a need to be uh, very cautious in receiving this knowledge uh, and and uh, and putting that knowledge in practice as well. This is our challenge to all of us as devotees: how to nicely receive the original knowledge, the pure knowledge, as given by the Lord and His various representatives. Mm. And then also how to correct the situation when that knowledge becomes mm, either diluted or lost. So we can uh, we can take a very prime example. What's a very prime example in our ISKCON society of something that is maybe diluted or not understood or or even lost? what
I have some suggestion, but I'm not sure that.
what comes to my mind,
Yeah.
to me, obviously, is um, something that is confusing for many of our devotees. I'm referring to Varnashram. You see that because there are extreme positions or opinions regarding Varnashrama Dharma, and um, from the position of just concluding that actually Varnashrama is not for Kali Yuga. Mahaprabhu has introduced the Harinam Sankirtan. Simply we chant Hare Krishna, chant, dance, take prasadam, and be happy. Very simple formula. So some devotees are of that understanding that if we just concentrate on that, then that's all we have to do. Other devotees are, uh, of course, accepting that this is uh, very important and that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu definitely introduced, uh, which was already existing before. It's not that Lord Chaitanya invented the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. It was there in the Shastra. But as Prabhupada would say, Mahaprabhu pointed out that this is important for us in Kali Yuga. At the same time, we have personalities, some of our acharyas, especially beginning with Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, continued also by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and again by our own founder, Acharya Srila Prabhupada, who mentioned that, yes, bhakti, devotional service, uh, Sankirtan, uh, these are all very important activities, and ultimately uh, everyone needs to perform, take up these activities. At the same time, there is this whole aspect of uh, varnasrama dharma, which is the system given to us by Krishna, that when we live more according to the guidelines within the system of varna and asrama, then this will ultimately help us to uh, to perform these other activities. Um, they will help us to actually become devotees because uh, because we are still connected with and affected by the modes of material nature. So, in many ways, this aspect of guyam here, dina guyatamam, no, no, not dina guyatamam, dina vatsalaha, but guyatamam, most confidential. Um, the point I want to make actually is that not only is bhakti guyatamam, not only is spiritual dharma, Bhagavat dharma, Sanatan dharma, not only is that confidential, but also varnashrama dharma is confidential because not so easily one can understand. Uh, I would say the inner uh, dimensions, the inner dimensions of varnashrama dharma, and how it is important um, for uh, for the vast majority of devotees practicing Krishna consciousness, as pointed out by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. As long as we have some connection with the gunas, with the modes of material nature, then we must follow the principles set out in Varnashrama Dharma. So this is subject matter that that needs to be discussed more by devotees, and in this way one can gain a more clear understanding. I'm reading again the verse. Yeah. As they were leaving, those Bhaktivedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. So any thoughts or questions?
You are listening to a lot of things. You have to have thoughts. Something. It's too long. It's interesting. Something related to what you heard just now. if you are interested at all, but just sitting here, so you have to have some. Oh, you are a human being, not.
English problem.
Don't be shy. Don't have to be big things to say.
Speaking problem English.
Yeah, no problem. I'm happy to hear so many something emotion. Hmm? Say something that inspired a speaker as a service. Hmm? I'm not recorded. I can stop record. Which part was more interesting, the first part or the second part? Second part, yeah.
Varnashram, Varnashram dharma become will become later. Later is most important. Gradually.
Later.
Now also, but later is the most famous. Gradually famous later.
In the future or in the
Future
past?
in future.
Future.
In future
Why?
because uh, because gradually ISKCON devotee more and more uh, increase ISKCON devotee, so they earning uh, outside because of AI, no job, and gradually they come to field and farming and go seva and joiba farming. So
Actually, this is a good point you're making, which is just like yesterday I met one devotee who has a friend living in Bangalore. And we know that in Bangalore, since at least 1 or 2 months, they have big crisis. That crisis still continues. They have water crisis, isn't it? Your point, of course, is that yes, more and more devotees will gradually understand, uh, especially those who are, let's say, losing job. Uh, even those who are having job. Actually, one devotee told me some years back, I'm very qualified. I have PhD, and I was very good, but I lost my job. You know, Prabhupada mentioned like this because we are living not following Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore, um, the point you're making is very important. We are most people today, including most devotees, are caught up in wrong economy. Are by their own choice uh,
No choice.
or by no choice, yeah, by both, they are caught up in the artificial